To all those who claim to support Donald Trump for President of the United States, I would just ask you to pause and ask yourselves, what am I voting for? The President's sworn oath of office, as provided by the Constitution, is that he will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That Constitution is based on a declaration of beliefs claimed to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That declaration does not list all of the unalienable rights, those human rights that cannot be separated from each individual, cannot be taken away, cannot be removed or cut off. But it does mention the main rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. These aren't separate things. They can be labeled individually. They can be given individual characteristics, but they all exist together as one package, enveloped in each and every human being. They cannot be rescinded by any means. And so the Constitution, the rules by which you create and protect this package, proposes in its preamble 5 basic principles as a foundation of government. The President is sworn to uphold these principles in order to preserve life, liberty, and happiness. And it states that those 5 principles are: 1, to establish justice; 2, to ensure domestic tranquility; 3, to provide for the common defense; 4, to promote the general welfare; 5, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Now, this is in the Constitution itself. It's not a question of belief or opinion. It's a question of law. The President is required by law to do all those things. And these things don't exist in a vacuum. They all go together. There is no life without liberty or the ability to pursue happiness. There's no liberty without life, and no happiness without life and liberty. Justice is justice for all, not the privileged few, so that we are all equal. Domestic tranquility is peace and harmony in our personal lives, as well as in our collective lives and interactions with neighbors and other citizens. The common defense is protecting each and every individual from harm and from doing harm. Promoting the general welfare is ensuring that each and every individual is in good health, physically and mentally, by making it possible and imperative that individuals have access to medical assistance of every kind in order to maintain that general welfare. To ensure the blessings of liberty, to ensure that individuals are free to speak, to think, to learn, to worship, to choose life as they see fit without causing harm to others or impinging on another's liberty. So when you go out to vote, ask yourselves, what has the President done to establish these 5 principles that he is required to do by law? Unfortunately, all you see is bluster and bullying, and an attempt to establish a singular, conservative, fundamentalist, narrow view of justice, far from what the rule of law actually means. And rather than ensure domestic tranquility, he has been more divisive than any single president in history. His bombast and insulting demeanor towards anyone who dares to disagree or ask pertinent questions is as combative as one can get. He insults the American people at every opportunity by claiming they are prepared to indulge in massive voter fraud. He thus proclaims the American voters to be dishonest and deceitful. He is prepared to defend and protect the violence and hatred of a select band of thugs, no different from Islamic State terrorists. Those so-called supremacists are indeed no different. They are the scourge of America and the most disruptive element in society, which rather than ensuring domestic tranquility, does all it can to disturb the peace. He has done everything he can to remove any legislation designed to promote medical welfare. He claims that he can do better, and yet has done nothing at all. He is only interested in his own welfare, and has shown he can't even do that very well. He blusters, he bullies. He does not debate. This was obvious. All he did was shout. He doesn't talk about policies. He doesn't talk about seeing to people's welfare. He doesn't say he actually cares about the American people. He tells the American people, you're lucky to have him. He actually debases the concept of a debate. He has reduced the whole situation to name-calling, to untruths. He states that the Democratic vice presidential candidate is a monster. He accuses his opponent of being stupid and ill, and that he wants to take away your guns and to defund the police, which the president can't do in any event. He doesn't have the power to do that. That's a state issue. But regardless of that, what you look at and see a man who behaves like a bully in a schoolyard. He said during one particular presidential interview or debate, so-called, when he was accused of not paying taxes or sufficient taxes, he said that made him smart. The smart thing is not paying tax, or certainly avoiding as much as possible. The smart thing is to avoid assisting the American economy, which is what he's actually saying. Let some other son of a bitch pay for our defense, the armed forces. Let some other idiot pay for supporting our schools and education. Let some other idiot support developing medicines and looking after people who are desperately ill and suffering during this pandemic. Let some other schmuck do it. I don't have to, because I'm clever. I have lawyers who will see to it that I don't pay the full amount of tax that I should be paying. He doesn't want you to see his tax returns because it will expose him. And so he resorts to name-calling and bluster. And unfortunately, because of that barrage of name-calling, one is reduced to doing that oneself. You look at him and you think, oh, by God, there's a strong man. That's telling him, Donald, you show him. Well, of course, he's not showing anybody anything. He's blinding you to the truth behind him. What you have is, frankly, Al Capone in the White House, and you don't even know it. You should actually look up Al Capone, because many of you will probably never heard of him. Many of you have probably never read the Constitution of the United States. And I suggest that you do that as soon as possible and look at what the law actually means, what your rights really are, and then think about who you're going to vote for president. In his 70 years as non-president, all Donald Trump has done is inherit a lot of money, throw away a lot of money, indulge in real estate, and whatever other tax schemes going. He has hardly contributed anything to charities. He has contributed nothing to the culture of this country. He merely looks out for himself. That's all he does. He goes out and plays golf. I don't think he actually has read the Constitution himself. And he accuses opponents of being gangsters, monsters, addle-brained. The other two against him have actually spent their lives working in public service. You may not agree with everything they've done, but they've been there on the Senate floor as prosecutors. They've been there working throughout their lives as public servants. Donald Trump pretends to be a public servant, and he's done it long enough. He has been the worst president this nation has ever produced, not only within the confines of the United States, but in the rest of the world. He has shown himself to be a charlatan, a liar, and a deceiver, a narcissist of the worst kind. You've really got to get rid of him. Tell him you're fired.